hit record. Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Amanda Waters. I am the Director of Athletics at Mater Dei, and I am here with my fancy dress buddy, Ira.
Ira Childress, Athletic Director, Gulliver Prep, Miami, Florida.
So it's funny, Ira, because now when school starts, I'm gonna have to start dressing up. So you're gonna have.
Oh, good.
I'm gonna be more.
You know I got you. So any consultant tips you need, we can kind of get you there. I know you got style.
I have sweatpant and sweatshirt style. That's about it. It's okay. Okay. So obviously lots going on right now, right? I mean, everything's changing every day is something new. So I wanted to kind of start with state-by-state challenges.
Okay.
So do you want to start with Florida and then I'll kind of go into California?
Yeah, I'll start with Florida. And just for our guests to know, we didn't have a guest this week. I had somebody lined up, and actually I end up canceling them just because there's so much stuff going on. I mean, there's just a lot that we need to talk about. So I'll start here in the state of Florida. Last Friday, the Florida High School Athletic Association announced that the start of fall sports would be the 24th, which is this coming Monday, for all schools. So that was a big thing. It changed a lot of plans for a lot of people. There were 3 plans on the table. One of those plans would have been like more of a California, Virginia type plan where you start like December 1st, end of November or December 1st. But they went with the plan that starts next week. So now each school has an opportunity to start when they need to start. I know it's caused, some concern down here in some areas. Obviously, here in South Florida, public schools aren't going back, or they're not even looking to potentially start until at least October 5th. That would be the earliest that they would start at this time. And I know some private schools are doing, some independent schools are doing some different things. Here at Gulliver Prep, we have said, and we've let our families know that we wouldn't start any earlier than September 14th. We have a potential to go back in person in school on September 8th. If that happens, then we would entertain the possibility of starting sports on September 14th. So that's kind of where we're at. There's a lot, obviously, that goes into these decisions. And then, I know we'll talk about plans and all that stuff later, but that's kind of the update here in the state of Florida, Amanda. And the big thing about Florida is, South Florida, we're behind in terms of, being ready to go. I know in the mid part of the state and northern part of the state, some schools are ready to go because they didn't have as many cases and that sort of thing. So the good thing down here is that the cases are going down. So that's positive.
Yeah, in California, it's kind of all over the place, interestingly enough. Like every county is kind of different. So I'm in Orange County now. San Diego finally went off the watch list. So there's like a 6 criteria watch list we have out here to determine when people can kind of get started for schools and all of those. I know camps, youth camps can be started. The state sent out guidelines that we could start youth camps and off-season stuff. So we actually started Monday. It seemed like it was a little more lax than at the beginning with certain guidelines, but we stuck to the ones we had to start the summer to ensure that we were actually doing more than they asked, to make sure we're safe. But I don't know about you, Ira. I think the biggest thing for me has been making sure that I'm around, like my staff, and I'm around and I'm going out and I'm reminding kids, like, we want to see you out there, but you got to be 6 feet apart, and you can't because they all want to hug each other. Like we were all kids, like they want to get together. They want to give each other hugs. They're so happy to see each other. But you have to remind them, like, we want to see you here. And if you don't do those things, we're going to be shut down again, and that's hard. Like I'm a new AD at the school. Half of them don't know me. And I'm out yelling yesterday going, get 6 feet apart. So right. I look like crazy AD already, but it's only because I care, right? And I want them out there. So in California, it's so all over. I mean, Northern California is doing their own thing. San Diego, like I said, just got on the watch list. So, and I'm sure there's more people here from California that can kind of explain what they're doing. But in Orange County, we're December, well, CIF, we're not going back, we're fall, spring. So they put 3 seasons into 2, and we start December 14th.
Right. And the big thing I think is being accessible. Myself and my assistant AD and the rest of our staff, I mean, we're here all the time. We're here in the evenings. We're doing voluntary workouts. So we have a lot of kids on campus doing these voluntary workouts. But we're you know, we have a process and a protocol. But it's, you know, sometimes, you know, the thing that we're noticing now is when it rains, it you know, it really takes up your facilities. You know what I mean? Because you couldn't, places that you could go before because of the 6 feet social distancing, you can't necessarily go. So you got to be thinking about that. You know, what happens there. You know, we had some teams in the gym last night, and so it's you know, it's tough. But if we want to be, you know, diligent about this, we have to be diligent about this if we want to get back to quote unquote normal and playing. And that's very important. There's a lot to talk about, but I want to kind of, let's kind of go around the country and hear other people's thoughts. You want to pick some people?
Yep, we can start with Gary. Gary, if you could unmute yourself and kind of tell us what's happening. Gary's the first one, and he's actually in Maine. So Gary, you want to share?
Sure, and I know I have at least one Maine colleague, Michael Daly from my league, who's actually on this as well. So if he wants to add on anything I say, certainly, Michael, feel free. Maine is a situation where we've been doing summer conditioning since July 6th, and they've kicked the can down the road a few times, and ultimately they've settled on September 8th as the first day of fall practices. And moving on from there, the season would be truncated, probably 2/3 as many games, most activities, but try to at least salvage a fall. Now, what's interesting in our state is, first of all, if you look at the map of the country, Maine looks good compared to most other people. We've had, tragic that it is, our death toll is at 127, which is low compared to many other states in the country, and our number of cases is around 41 to 4,200 total. So we've done a good job overall of managing the virus, but it did percolate in a school, a summer activity earlier this week, and in a small community. They had a wedding. There were like 28 cases. So we've seen these little fires start at the time when we're beginning to make decisions for our athletics. So having said that, our state association had a meeting yesterday. I think the original intent was to sort of firm up what we're planning to do for the 8th, but we've had a couple of competing set of guidelines. Our Department of Education has come up with guidelines for physical education, which states social distancing 14 feet, guidelines that you couldn't do athletics under. And we have a community sport guideline, which really is outside the purview of school sports. So we've tried to get clarification with our Department of Education, our governor's office, our Department of Health and Human Services, and others as to what guidelines do we use. And the verdict is, well, you don't have to worry about the phys ed guidelines. That's for a school-based educational activity, but we're education-based. And they say, well, we'll sort of get back to you. So they're trying to figure out where we fit in that. And if we do have to use the community-based guidelines, there are probably some hope for some activities and maybe not for others. So it all boils down to next Thursday at this point. We believe a decision will be made. And I think what will happen is our various sport committees will weigh in on what handcuffs we get placed on us by the community guidelines. And they'll have to make a decision if they offer some activities that fit the guidelines or no activities, and try to find another strategy. So again, we're a state that if you looked at our numbers, you would be like, you should be able to go ahead, but you have to remember, my part of the state, which we've done no conditioning, and we've done nothing. Our students have not been on campus at all. We're an hour and a half from Boston, which has just been designated by Dr. Birx as a hot zone. So they don't close the bridge from New Hampshire into Maine. Michael couldn't get to work otherwise, but it's a challenging situation for us.
Oh, I'm
Great.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, so on a side note, I'm actually from Maine, so I have a little bit of a.
I appreciate that.
I grew up in Skowhegan. That tells you where I'm from.
Exactly, know exactly where they are. They're having a mascot
I
controversy.
know.
Man,
Yes,
that's
I hear.
another set of workshops.
Sure. All right. Next, we have Jen from Illinois. Jen's going to come on and talk about Illinois a little bit and tell me what they're doing. Welcome, Jen.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I don't know if we have any other people from Illinois. I'm at a school in Joliet, Illinois, which is about maybe 45 minutes to an hour from Chicago, southwest of Chicago. So Illinois, our state association has been trying to work with our Illinois Department of Public Health, and they've gotten conflicting answers on what we can and cannot do. And so we are currently in June, we were able to do conditioning with our kids. However, you could only have a set of 10, and it had to be outside, and you had to be 30 feet apart. And the set of 10 included the coach. So we had multiple groups of 10. We couldn't intermingle. Then we were cleared to do some skill instruction. Obviously, but in the skill instruction, it included no scrimmages and no physical touching. So you couldn't do a normal football scrimmage. You couldn't do a normal volleyball or basketball scrimmage. So we were kind of limited. So we really focused on just skill instruction. That's what I told our coaches. I go, look, this is a prime opportunity to build the skills. You complain about they don't have the skills. Here's your opportunity to do that. And then most recently, our state association has come up with a plan of right now, the sports that can go are boys and girls golf, boys and girls cross country, girls swimming, and girls tennis. Those were the 4 sports from our fall season that could go ahead and start practicing and competing. Everything else kind of got shifted. So our winter season got shifted to a certain time frame, and then football, which is normally in the fall, got shifted to the new spring season, which starts in February, which will be very interesting in Chicago, especially if you don't have a turf field. So that is causing, you could imagine, chaos amongst football coaches and people. So everything kind of got shifted. And so our last season ends in June, June 26th, when normally we would end in May, at the end of May. So right now, I'm just trying to figure out how to get boys and girls golf and boys and girls cross country. We were just told by the IDPH that girls and boys golf have to wear masks, even though they're outside. And they can only take them off when they're hitting. So we're trying to, I will say this, our IHSA director, Craig Anderson, has done a phenomenal job of trying to work with the IDPH on some things. And we also, Gary, we have, similar to you, we have ISB guidelines, we have our Illinois State Board of Education guidelines, we have the IHSA guidelines, we have the IDPH guidelines, which is the Department of Public Health, and then we have our governor came out with this all sports guidance that rated sports as a risk level. So, and what is lower, what is medium, what is higher risk. So we're just trying to balance all of that. And then add on top of it, we started remote learning today. And so that has been, and technology has not been great today. So we are just trying to survive over here. I'm just like Dory and Finding Nemo. I just keep swimming. And I'm going into even though I've been an administrator this is my 12th year going into administration, this is only my 2nd year as an athletic director. I was a physical education department chair before this for 10 years. So this has been definitely an experience. But I am actually glad right now I am not on the curriculum side, considering some of the issues they're struggling with on the curriculum side.
Well, great. I appreciate you sharing, Jen. That's great. I think you might need a snowplow to play football in February. But no, I think it's great because I think that's kind of the same. I think a lot of us are feeling is just keep swimming. Like, like every day we got to figure it out and it's different. Ira, we have Alexia from Washington who is next. If you could unmute yourself and let us know what's happening in Western Washington.
All right, good morning, guys. Things are really different here. The majority of our counties are in phase 2. A couple are phase 3, so that depends on the number of cases. And right now, like where I work, we're in phase 3, so we could have groups of up to 10. However, because we don't have kids in the building and we will not until November, there aren't any sports happening. And that's pretty much across the board here in Western Washington. No kids in the building, no sports. So our WIAA changed our seasons to 4 seasons and shifted football to season 3. So that also, like Illinois, starts February 17th. Kids and schools that are not in session had the option of moving season 1 to an alternate season of season 3. So that's what most of the schools in this area have done thus far. So that'll make tennis a bit difficult in February. I'm assuming most of those games will get rained out and probably not rescheduled.
Sure.
So that's kind of what we're working with, and the schools are making their decisions on when to bring kids back, kind of at the natural break, so quarter or semester. So if they don't bring kids back in November, we will then be waiting again until January, which means our season 2 would be off the table, which is basketball, wrestling, cheer. And wrestling cannot even practice until the counties are in phase 4. So I don't see wrestling happening at all for Washington schools this year. Basketball state can play in practice in phase 3 along with soccer. Games can all start in phase 4, but for some reason, boys soccer has to wear masks. No one else.
Interesting. That's interesting.
I thought that was interesting too. I went through the guidelines yesterday and looked at every other sport, and I only saw the mask requirement for boys soccer.
Interesting. Interesting. No, I don't know how you justify that. That's an interesting piece. Like girls soccer is okay, but boys soccer is.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the girls play just as rough and just as in your face as the boys do.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I don't know. There's another meeting for WIAA Thursday, so tomorrow, and I'm sure we will get more guidance. So now this is my first year as the AD. So all of us in our league are trying to create potential schedules and get everything reset up and arrange transportation, which is a whole other issue. So we don't know how it's going to work. So the county's stuck in phase 2.
Interesting.
Like the county where I live and where my kids go to school, they can't play at all. They cannot travel to a phase 3 county to play a game.
Perfect.
But
Yeah.
rec sports are playing right now. My kids are playing Premier Soccer and they start games the 26th. And if we're in phase 2 and they play a phase 3 team, we forfeit and they win by default. That's how it is for, I think the majority of rec sports are going that way this year.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing, Alexia. Thanks so much. So I have a question, and Ira, did you want to ask it?
Yeah, just is anybody playing right now currently? If do we have somebody out there that's Jen, we just heard from there. Who is anybody else playing currently? Brandon, you wanna jump in and talk about what the experience is like playing right now and what protocols you have in place to do that?
Yeah, so I'm in Colorado, so it's a little different out here with the governor. So we have statewide mask mandate, so everybody has to wear a mask at all times in public places. CHSA kind of went to what's kind of going on in other states, to the 4-season type calendar. They pretty much moved volleyball and football, that are usually fall sports out here, are now moved to their 3rd season, which will start sometime at the end of February. But right now, the only 3 sports going on are softball, because we play fall softball out here, cross country, and boys tennis. And I'm a softball official. So I actually did my first games for the season of softball yesterday. And it's kind of what I assumed it would be. We have to wear a mask when we go to the field or leaving the field. We don't have to wear a mask on the field. Coaches have to wear a mask at all times. The dugouts are more extended. Teams can only have 12 girls suit up on a game-by-game basis. So you have 9 girls, and you can only have 3 subs. You got to spread everybody out. Teams take care of their own balls. Fans have to be spread out. Everybody has to wear a mask. I had my temperature check before I did the game yesterday. I had to fill out a kind of a survey of, do I have any symptoms and stuff like that. So softball is going to be, at least in Colorado, we're probably most prominent team sport going on this fall, where I think everybody is really watching, do the protocols of Colorado or CHSA set in place? Are they going to work for softball? Can they work for other sports going forward, especially as we transition into the winter sports? Because the next season, or at least the 2nd season, is going to be basketball, wrestling, and swimming. So we'll see. I think CHSA is really watching to see how softball goes this fall, and if the things they put in place works, and I think they'll feel better. But across the board, across the state, it's so different. The school district I work in right now, we're in-person learning, but I work in the mountains. On the other side of the mountain, there's another school district. They're fully remote. Some districts in Denver are like Denver Public Schools are fully remote. The 2nd biggest district in Denver's fully remote, but the 3rd biggest one in Douglas County, they are doing it like a hybrid, half and half. So just in Denver alone, it's so different of who's in school and who's not right now. And that's just, I think, what we'll see for at least the next quarter, and keep our fingers crossed we can stay in school as long as possible before we have to go remote again. And they seem to think that will happen at some point this year too.
No, I appreciate that, Brandon. It's interesting because I think that's part of, the confusion and frustration with everybody is, we're doing one thing, but the county 10 minutes away is doing something different, and so it's like, there doesn't seem to be a sense of like, I don't know, any type of fluidity with this. It's kind of, everybody's kind of going rogue, for lack of better terms, which I think, as far as athletics goes, it's frustration, because, you hear what Alexia said about how they're going to have to forfeit games if they're not at stage 3. So, and that's frustrating to parents and kids. And now you're dealing with frustrated kids and parents. Ira, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you have to understand that everybody's not going to be where you are, even in the same county. When you're dealing with this, unfortunately, it's kind of a school by school thing, and especially independent schools. I mean, I know it's kind of looked at that way, but when you're scheduling, I know we'll talk about this a little bit later, as we revamp the schedule, I mean, the one thing that's important to us is that the schools that, if we do get a chance to play, the schools that we're playing have the same protocols and are doing the same things we are. So I think that's something that's really important. And it's not that some schools, it's not their fault, but they may not have the resources or things to be able to do that. And, you just have to, for us, that's important that if we are able to play, that the schools that we're playing are going through the same protocols. So that's something that's very important. Let's do a couple more before we move on. Amanda, I see Bobby Moran is on here. Let's have Bobby come on and talk about what's happening in the Northeast.
Always put me in the hot spot, Ira. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I am in Jersey, and it is fascinating. We are doing summer workouts right now. So summer workouts run through phases 1, 2, and 3. And those summer workouts will, and the difference really in the phases is obviously how many kids can participate in each and how long those practices can take place. So the first is 90 minutes. In phase 2, we go up to 120 minutes. And then phase 3, we go up to 150 minutes, mandated 10 minutes before and after warm up, cool down kind of a thing. And then along with that, the size of the cohorts change in those sports in those practices as well. They have to have at least 4 workouts in a 14-day period in order to move into the next phase. So all of that is on the njsiaa.org. So, and you guys can click into that. They really have everything lined up. We're waiting this week. The governor's going to make an announcement as to whether or not sports will or won't take place. But right now, the plan is that we will do these optional summer workouts through the 28th of August. Then we have a mandated 2-week layoff where it's virtual only. And then we start sports on the 14th of September. And all fall sports will start then, with games being started for tennis on the 28th of September and all other sports on October 1st. And then we've elongated the system, the season to go to the second week of November, but no state tournaments, only county tournaments. So
Interesting.
Yeah. You want to hit one more person maybe? Yeah.
I have Minnesota. Dave from Minnesota they started practices this week. So I'm interested to hear what challenges they've seen and how it's going. So Dave, if you could unmute yourself.
There we go. In Minnesota this week, we started practices Monday statewide. We started practices in cross country, boys and girls, soccer, boys and girls swim and dive, and girls tennis. So we have moved football and volleyball to a spring. There's a lot of great information on the Minnesota State High School League website, mshsl.org. And what has happened is we're going to allow the high school league has reduced the number of weeks in a season by 20%, and they have reduced the number of contests in a season by 30%. And so essentially what we're going to have this year in the state is 4 condensed seasons. Traditional fall, winter, spring, and then that football, volleyball is going to be similar to Illinois in that March time zone. We have not gotten specific dates yet, but we're working on that. One of the things that's been really cool, the leadership of the Minnesota State High School League has just been fantastic through this whole process. We actually have a Thursday statewide Zoom meeting, and we have throughout the whole summer. And then we also have what's called a lead liaison meetings on Tuesdays. And so typically what happens is the State High School League will ask us questions to ask our area ADs on a Tuesday, and then they compile and report back on Thursdays. As far as any issues that we've had, just this morning, we were dealing with a situation where a girls soccer player found out that her summer coach had COVID, and so she's a secondary exposure. So we're working very carefully with the CDC and the Minnesota Department of Health. And what happens is each case is taken individually. This particular girl was told that she could not participate until she had a negative test. And so those are some of the issues. We've had some issues during our summer workout period. anything from we've had to shut a whole school down to, and that would be a situation where actually we had coaches testing positive, to just having a pod of students be asked to wait until they're all cleared.
What have you seen as any challenges? Like since your practices have started, what are the biggest things that you've said, wow, okay, we need to fix that, or protocols were great and we want to continue with it? What are the things that you've seen?
The number one thing is people are asking about transportation. And so our school district has worked with some other local school districts, and we are now offering a transportation waiver. Typically, our school district provides transportation because in Minneapolis, we don't have large campuses, so many of the facilities that we use are park facilities. And so the kids have to typically get on a bus, go to the park, do their workouts, and then go back. So transportation has been a big one. Just this morning, we're running through our supply of masks. We're asking the kids to bring their own, but it has been a little bit difficult. And then the third area, to be honest with you, we haven't had that much pushback from the kids on wearing masks. We've had more pushback from coaches, from adults. And so we're, trying to make sure that they're all understanding that, a soccer coach, when they are explaining a drill to a group of people, they have to be masked up as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Good to hear. I appreciate you sharing, Dave. I appreciate that. Ira, we want to ready to move on to the next. All right.
Let's do it.
We kind of talked a little bit about season starting challenges. So we'll, one of the things I noticed in the chat was it's very hard to get kids to understand how to follow the guidelines, right? And so we kind of touched on that a little bit before, and how people are tackling it. I know for me, it's kind of what we talked about at the beginning is I have to talk to my coaches daily and remind them, hey, don't forget, because they'll get in the grind and they'll just want to go and forget, like, oh man, I forgot to do this or that. So I unfortunately kind of have to micromanage as much as I don't want to, but remind them like, hey, you got to do your temperature checks. Send me your roster schedule. Like, send me your list. I go out there. I ask the coach, how are you doing? I make sure I remind the kids, don't forget, stay 6 feet apart. And it's kind of like a playful fun thing at the beginning. Like, hey, you guys need to move apart. And so the kids kind of start doing that. And then if they don't listen, I go now, and then they move. So, Ira, what's your thought on that? How are you guys handling that as far as kids? And obviously you rely on your coaches, right? That they have that type of control that they can handle those too. But what's your thoughts?
We've asked each one of our coaches to designate a person that's solely focused on, kind of like the get back coach on the sideline, if you know football, but it's focused on 6 feet apart, and you'll hear them yelling, hey, stay 6 feet apart, stay 6 feet. So they're really honed in on that. And then from an operations standpoint, one of the things we did early on, and that's been very helpful for us, is we set it in place, and it's almost like an assembly line operation. Parents know they can't get out of the car. So when they pull up, they let the students out. The students, when they get out of their car, they have their mask on. Everything is marked off. So you walk from the car down the hallway to the training room. And then there's spaces that you can stand in. So everybody's 6 feet apart before you go in the training room. Once you go in the training room, boom, they ask you a series of questions on the iPad. Boom, you come out of there, go to the next thing. The other trainer has the temperature check. Make sure the temperature's checked. You get a wristband to let everybody know you're good for that day. And once you leave there, you have the wristband on. You're out on the athletic fields or the pool or wherever, or the gym, but you have your wristband on so everybody knows you're good. So it's like an assembly line that goes through, and that's kind of how we've done it, and it's worked well. So I would encourage anyone that, that can do that. It takes the pressure off coaches and everybody from individually trying to go to their different areas and trying to do temperature checks and do all of that. I mean, that becomes very, very cumbersome and hard. But if you can try to, do it operationally, the other way, I think for us at least, maybe not work for everybody. For us, that's worked really well.
Well, and I think having, your visual cues, right? So we have the signage up everywhere, making sure you wear your face mask all the time, stay 6 feet apart, and we have the stickers on the ground for when the kids are waiting to check in, like you need to be on a sticker. So it's all visual cues and getting them used to seeing the stickers. So when school starts, they have the expectation of, okay, I see the sticker, I need to be there, rather than the open office policy, which a lot of us have always had. It's okay, wait a minute, I see a sticker, I need to kind of wait a minute, so yeah, interesting.
Yeah, the arrows are going through our campus, and even in the bleachers, like in our bleachers, our stadium bleachers are all marked 6 feet apart. So when the kids are being talked to by coaches, they can be in their area that's 6 feet apart. They can sit on that. So everything is it has to be systematic. So I would encourage everybody out there to try to operate from a systematic standpoint instead of one-offs or trying to do it verbally or whatever the case may be. Of course, you can do it verbally, but it helps if everything is marked and you have a systematic approach.
Yeah, well, and I think everybody's going to steal your wristband idea.
Good, man. Hey,
and I like it. It's a great one. I love it. So the next piece we have is cleaning protocols, right? So like I know weight room has been a topic of discussion in our chat, and we have an indoor-outdoor space where we have the roll-up doors. So it's really outdoor. It's not considered an indoor space. So we're allowed to use it. Where we are now, we can't do anything inside. So basketballs, volleyballs can't go. We're all outside. So in our weight room, we actually bought, you're going to laugh, but paint sprayers. And you put the cleaner in the paint sprayer and you literally just like all the kettlebells, all the weights, and it's so fast and so quick. So we put in like 10 minutes in between each session for everybody to just go over everything. And it's fantastic. Like I'm going to find the video when Ira starts talking to kind of see if I can show you on this, because it's fabulous. Like it's a cool looking thing.
Awesome. Hey, the one thing I want to talk about is always the elephant in the room. Is football. And, a lot of sports, everyone's, say, hey, we can do cross country, we can do golf. But, we're here, at Gulliver, and I know other schools around the state and around the country are trying to play football. But how do you do that safely? And one of the things I think you have to do is you have to be able to show your administration that it's safe. Now, there's some things that just came out. If they can scale this new direct saliva testing that just came out or just happened, if they can scale that and you can get your hands on that for $10 and you can have results back in an hour, that obviously that makes a big difference. Then you can say, hey, you know what? We're going to spend $500 or $1,000 and get these and make sure before every game everybody's tested and that sort of thing. So that could be one instance. If you can't do that, obviously you put all the protocols in place to try to help, play football. But one of the things in football is the new, I don't know, I think Oakley makes them, I know Shot makes them too, is we're looking into the shields. Will you have the shields that go all the way down? There are two components. There's one shield, the top part of the shield, and the other one is the bottom half. Will you be able, we're looking at getting that. And will your opponents get those shields? I mean, they're not necessarily overly cheap, but they're not overly expensive. But is that something that's going to help you get out there and play football? I know we're really looking into the shields. I was on a Zoom call the other day, and I'll give the I can't think of the school's name, but a coach brought up, and it's something I'm looking into now, is breaking down, looking at a course of a game and breaking it down and seeing, like, you know, is there 15 minutes? Will any of your student athletes be out there for 15 minutes in total to be able to, you know, from a contact tracing standpoint, you know, so that's something, being able to go through that video, and the answer is really no. I mean, because they're just on and off, on and off, on and off. So they're not necessarily out there. Every alignment maybe, but even that is really no. So just looking at different ways that you can show your administration that, hey, you know what, football is going to be okay. You know, we can make it work. So I don't know if anybody is really thinking about, you know, how to play football in the fall, or thinking about that, Amanda.
I think so, you know, and I think again, it's the same protocols. Like, how are you going to clean everything? And for us, we're lucky. We have an equipment management staff completely that manages all the equipment and and uniforms and everything. Like game ends, they go in bags and away. So luckily for us, we don't have to have families that have to clean things and that. Hey, I found the video, so I'm going to share my screen. I want to show you this real quick. So
Okay,
let me share my screen. Can you see Instagram on there, Ira?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to share this video right here. Watch this stuff.
Yep.
So basically on there, the very cool part about that is it's all it is a paint sprayer, and you put the cleaner in it, and you literally kettlebell and weights and benches, and then obviously you have someone go behind you and wipe stuff off. But it's clean, it's quick. You don't have to get down on hands and knees and do any of those things, and they're right on Amazon. It's right on Amazon. You can literally buy them on Amazon. So something, again, like you just said, what am I showing administration that we're doing for cleaning protocols? That's been a big one. You know, that's been a big one. And with football starting, I mean, we could use something similar when it comes to shoulder pads and helmets and all of that. You know, like practice ends, we spray that. And I spoke with our head of facilities. He may buy some himself and take our idea to do that also. And it's not that expensive. I think they were $300 each, which isn't awful when it comes to being able to clean things quickly.
That's great. Send me that link. And then I want to make sure I get that. Yeah.
I will.
That's good stuff right there. I like that. Have you guys, you know, man, I know you guys are obviously a huge football school, except you won't come down here and play us. But,
you will come up here and play us. That's what it is.
But talk about, have you looked into the shields at all?
Yeah, actually we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that as a team, obviously Rollo is going to control whether his whole team wears them. He's very like regimented. So either everybody wears them, if everybody doesn't. At this point, we haven't gone anywhere near helmets. So I think he's still determining that factor. But in reality, if everybody can wear a mask and it's safer, I mean, everybody wears that, I mean, face shield, why wouldn't they? And that's the same advice that I gave. It's a little extra money, but you know, we're lucky where we are that we have some of those things that we can do for sure.
Yeah.
So
I know you guys are printing money out there.
We're not, but we're a private school, so a little different than Carlsbad, right? A few less challenges and a few more in different ways. Somebody asked what kind of spray was in those. So your district will come up with cleaning protocols and type of cleaner they'll use. You can put whatever cleaner that your district allows you to use in those. So for us, they're calling it the COVID killer type solution. So that's the solution that goes in, and they're like, don't add anything, don't dilute it. So basically we call it the COVID killer, and it goes in those, and that's what gets sprayed. So you're going to go basically on whatever your district allows, which also gives them the ability to say, oh, I thought of that. You know what I mean? Because remember, sometimes people want to take the accountability for coming up with ideas. So let them think that it was their idea. You just gave them the sprayer idea.
Right. Do you have that Facebook, or that Instagram link that you can, is there a link to that, or is it just on?
Yeah, it's Modern Day. Let me get it real quick. Let me see if I can post it so everybody can see the video. But yeah, it's Modern Day Strength and Conditioning.
Okay. Great.
But I'll get the link for you guys and put it on in the chat. Let's go into the next. I know we're cutting on time here, so let me
Yep.
get into the next piece. So athletic training, strength and conditioning staff expectations. So that's going to be different in every school. For us, our athletic training staff is here from the beginning of our off seasons, where we start afternoons here. So basically at 12:15, and they're here till 8:15. So the expectation is they're still going to do, injury stuff and taping and all of those. We do have an outside area for them to be able to do that with students. And then one person at a time in the training room type situation. If there's an injury, we have two athletic trainers, which is helpful. So they can kind of, split up and make those things happen. And then as far as strength and conditioning, I mean, our strength and conditioning staff are going at it. I mean, we have 3 full-time guys, 2 guys and a female. And she's actually doing Zoom workouts with all the teams that don't want to come on campus, and keeping them active, which are great too. And again, if you follow on Instagram, it's Modern Day Strength and Conditioning. The stuff they're doing is pretty cool stuff, I have to say. So if you want to look at that, and I'll share the link for their Instagram on here too. What are you guys doing, Ira, where you're at?
Yeah, we're working hard. One of the things we haven't done is we haven't went back in the weight room. We've made outside our weight room, and obviously we can, it works out. It works out here, but we wanted to be in the open air, and the student athletes are really working hard and going at it. So that's working for us. I don't know how long we'll keep that in play, but right now it's worked well, and so we don't want to change that up.
Yeah, I just put the link in the chat for everybody if they want to click on it. Let's see. Remote learning. So we are actually starting with remote learning. We're not allowed to go back at Modern Day. So we're starting with remote learning, but we are allowed to do off-season workouts. So our remote learning, our day would end at 11:20. Everybody's doing remote learning in the morning for our school, and then afternoons would be all of their off-season workout stuff. So we're not doing anything in the morning as far as sports until we move to our hybrid. So when we go to our hybrid is when they'll allow kids on campus. So our athletic trainers are 12-month, and so they've basically stayed on the whole time. We've been lucky. We haven't had to lay anyone off. We're actually hiring another assistant because our female is going out on leave for a little bit. So we've been lucky. We haven't really had to do a lot of layoffs because we're keeping busy. And even when we weren't on campus, we were doing Zoom workouts with teams to keep them active. So, I'm pretty lucky. I work in a pretty motivated place where everybody wants to get at it, which is great. What about you, Ira? Are you starting remote, or are you guys going in person?
We're starting remote tomorrow. And so it's busy, but good, and everybody's doing well, and and our athletic staff is intact, and which is really good. I mean, we just want to keep working hard, stay focused. We have a plan, and the one thing about starting in remote, obviously it gives you a little bit of time before students get back on campus. And they'll be looking to get back, hopefully, if everything goes right, September 8th. And then, then it'll be obviously a different ball game, and we'll have to work through it. I think the biggest thing we all have to overcome right now is the fear factor of the unknown, and I think that kind of drives a lot of things. And so we got to try to fight that. We don't want to stay in that fearful stage of, the unknown. We're saying, hey, listen, we have a plan as best we can. And then, if the plan doesn't work or something, we need to tweak the plan, we can do that. But I think keeping our staff, our coaches, let them know how much we care about them, letting our staff know how much we care about them, and our student athletes, and just fear that, don't fear the unknown, man, because we got this. I know it's hard. I know it's tough, but we all can do this.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. And it's not easy. And every day it's a new challenge. It was like yesterday they came out with, we can't use a COVID waiver. Tomorrow, who knows? Maybe we'll have to go back to it again. So, every day is changing. The last subject, Ira, is that I have is online tickets. So what are we going to do if there's no fans? What if we can't have fans at our games, and you have parents and you have grandparents and you have, so I know for us, we're looking in two things. One, we have online tickets already. We did have obviously regular tickets too for season ticket holders or whatnot, but we're looking to hopefully go completely digital with tickets as much as we can. If we do have any type of fans at all, whether that's in, just immediate family or whatnot. If we don't have fans, we're looking at getting cameras, those live feed HD cameras, whether from the NFHS or Huddle, which have pretty good offers right now with those, to install them for our facilities so that we can live stream our games. Because if not, how are people going to see anything? I mean, we're going to have a football game with no fans and 8,000 people that want to watch it.
Right. Yeah. We're looking at potentially, if, obviously if no fans, live stream, we have a, really good operation when it comes to television and media production and that sort of thing. So that's good. But also, the question is, can you do family only? Do you have, can you do that in your stadium? Can you do family of your team and family of the opponent's team and spread them out? I mean, those are questions you have to ask yourself. Can you get a percentage of your student body in there? Is that impossible? Do you go no fans to start and then kind of see how it goes and then try to phase them in? So there's a lot of questions around that. As I mentioned on here before, and I'm thankful for this. It's not a try to be a humble brag or anything. We don't do anything with tickets. So all of our games are free. So that helps. All of our games are free. Come in. So that takes away the whole component of worrying about tickets and selling tickets and doing all that. So that makes sense. Well, you guys should go free at Modern Day too, Amanda.
Yeah, well, we rent. We don't actually play on our campus. We play at the Santa Ana Bowl. So we rent the big city bowl to play in.
Oh,
we have
okay.
8,000 people. So I haven't been to one yet. Like, I'm really excited to see the first football game, and I have a feeling I'm going to be seeing it with no fans. So that'll be a new experience. But no, I look at, we have a TV crew too, but then I know we have a deal with Fox and ESPN where they actually have some of our games, so we wouldn't be able to stream. They would have to stream them. So some people do that as also.
Fox and ESPN, that's big time.
I know, right? I know, yeah. You know what I always like to say? I'm like, oh, ESPN called today. That's a really cool conversation. And my kids think it's the coolest thing ever, by the way.
We gotta get ESPN on this show.
She's here. I believe she's here today. I don't want to call her out, but she came on just to kind of hear what everybody was saying, what everybody's doing across the country. So I won't call her.
We have ESPN on here?
We do, but she's not gonna talk at this point. She's gonna maybe talk later.
Okay.
Oh, she's
so you're holding out. I mean, I knew they were on here. I knew they were on here, but you're holding out. You guys are like trying to. It's like a secret identity thing, or what?
Well, I don't want to make people nervous, right? But then she just wanted to kind of hear in some things, so I'm gonna see.
Oh, she's here.
She's in. Yeah, she's been here the whole time. So I just wanted to see if
we'll have her say hello. She put her name out there.
So I just asked her if she wanted to say hi. Go ahead and unmute yourself and just say hi if you would like.
Hey everybody. Hi.
So she is joining us from ESPN. She wanted to kind of hear what you guys are all doing in different states. I didn't want to put her on blast, but I appreciate you putting yourself out there. I did not want to do it for you. But thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that you've heard some good stuff on here.
Thank you. This was wonderful. Learned so much. Thank you.
I love it. You got it. So yeah,
we've officially made it.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard there's a billboard somewhere, so that's something we got to see. So.
Oh yeah, we got to see that.
We got to see.
All right. Anything else?
That's pretty much all I have. I can tell you this. Here's what I will tell you. A lot of ADs have reached out the last few weeks. We've tried to keep it positive, and it's so hard to keep it positive sometimes. But remember one thing, like, it's okay to not be okay. And if you're struggling or one of your coaches are struggling, Ira and I are always here. Please feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to reach out to, have some of those hard conversations if you need to, because it's not easy. And imagine when the kids come back, it's really not going to be easy for them. So they're going to need some extra love. They're going to need some extra patience. So we've really kind of got to figure ourselves out first to be able to be ready for them. And that's the biggest conversation I have with our coaches is, that's a big mental health thing. And it's not just for kids, it's coaches too. So I try to have those conversations, just like, how are you doing, and reaching out. And so make sure if you haven't done that with your coaching staff, make sure that you do that. And then, try to engage your athletes, not just on the field, especially now, and remind your coaches how important that is. But I say it every time we're on here, Ira, and I really mean it. We're always stronger together. Like, the amount of information I get from these is overwhelming, and it's so great to see so many positive people welcome, and they engage, and they add value to this conversation. And even the ones that don't talk, they chat and they say things. So it's always a pleasure to see everybody. I hope we keep, obviously Ira and I, we want to keep this going. Let people know, shoot it out on social media. Ira, closing thoughts from you.
Yeah, we just got to keep going and call each other and email each other. I know Amanda and I email all the time, or text or whatever. I always connect with Bobby Moran and others. Just let's stay connected, because a lot of times, we feel so isolated and we get going so fast and worried about everything on our campus. And then we may have some issues, and it's like, oh man, we don't know who to turn to. Like Amanda said, we're here for you. And we're here to help you, and we want everybody to be successful, and we want to make sure we take care of our student athletes and coaches. And I know we will do that. Let's keep this call going. Let's keep working together. I know we can get through 2020 together. In 2021, I was already told it's going to be much better. So,
hey, it's a national conference. I want to see everybody there, and drinks are on Ira.
Bring Modern Day down to Miami to play football.
I'm totally going. So I hope I see you guys there. I hope we actually have a national conference. But it was great to see everybody. And so 2 weeks, we'll go 2 weeks from today. So we will see you all back then.
Take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Share it on social media. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.